Good day, my friends. I hope that you are having a fantastic day. I'm having a fantastic day today. Let me explain why. This morning I learned that a friend of mine named Matthew had yesterday taken the step of faith and put his trust in Jesus. Now I have to tell you, for me, I don't know if there's any greater joy in the life of a follower of Jesus than to be a witness to when God leads someone into a saving faith. I'm having a great day. And this morning, as I was talking with Matthew about this, and he was sharing with me what had happened and what led up to that moment, and as I was just celebrating that with him, he said something that I thought was so profound and so simple, something that has stuck with me through this whole day that I think is going to stick with me for a long time. Now, some background to what happened. As I've been a witness to this journey to faith that Matthew's been going through, he's been asking the questions that people often ask. How do I know God is present in my life? How do I know God is there? I mean, this is a question we all wrestle with as we're coming to faith and even after we're come to faith. I mean, King David himself, the man who the Bible says has a heart that's after God's heart, said in a lament in Psalm 13, he said, "How long, O Lord? Will you forget me forever? How long will you hide your face from me?" I mean, we all have those times, don't we? When we're at a crossroads, when we have questions that don't seem to be answered, when we have prayers that aren't being answered, when we are experiencing losses or disappointments or anxieties in our life, where we might come to that point, as David did, we're wondering, how do I know God is present in my life now? Well, Matthew had been wrestling with this question, not because of anything bad in his life. Actually, his life had been really great. But he just wanted to know, how does he know if God is present? So yesterday, as he's thinking about that question, here's what he did. He paused for a moment and he started to recall all the times, as he looked back now over his life, all the times that it was clear to him that God had showed up in his life, that God had been present. When God brought people into his life, when God had brought questions into his life that he had to wrestle with, and when God had brought some answers to some of those questions, when God had brought good into his life and joy into his life, how when he started to experience the life of among followers of Jesus, what that was doing to him in his life, the great joy that was bringing, he just had to say, God's been there. And so in a time of authentic, from the heart prayer, he simply said to God, "Of course you're there. Of course you're there." And that then was a time that allowed him to take that step and to put his trust in Jesus. You know, as he told me that story, and as he said that phrase, "Of course you're there," it just struck so true to me. That when we come to those times in our lives, when we're wondering, how do I know God is present? If we would pause for a moment and think back over our lives to the many times that we know God had showed up in our lives, that we would be led to that same heartfelt, authentic prayer where we'd say, "Of course you're there. Of course you're there, Lord." In the Gospel of Matthew, the last words of Jesus, according to the Gospel of Matthew, are these. Jesus says, "I will be with you always to the very end of the age." That's a promise that we can count on. Even when we don't feel it, even though we can't see it, even though there may be things in our lives that are pulling us away from that understanding, we have the promise. And many past experiences where Jesus has showed up, where we can say, of course you are there. May that be an encouragement for you today. In whatever you're experiencing today, God is with you.